everyone, it's Teresa Green with Slow Paths Wellness, and today for National Cancer Month, our Cancer Prevention Month, as part of my short series on cancer prevention, I wanted to share a few insights from one of my favorite books about cancer prevention and about living with a cancer diagnosis and things you can do to help yourself as you're going through cancer treatment. It's called Anticancer Lifestyle. It's by Doctors Lorenzo Cohen and Allison Jeffries, and they are a husband-wife team. He is the head of integrative care at MD Anderson, and she is an educator. She has a master's in education and does a lot with nutrition and does a lot with educating patients, especially cancer patients, on things they can do to empower themselves as they are going through cancer treatment. So their book has, I really like the way they put it, and I want to stop quickly just to say that most books on holistic health have something like what I'm about to describe as the mix of six. So healthcare in general, most chronic illnesses, at least all the ones that I've studied so far, have some basics that are the same if you want to treat them or help yourself with them or improve your outcome with them using a more holistic, natural, empowered approach where you're doing your lifestyle work to be able to do everything you can outside of the medical community. And basically it's all essentially the same advice. There's a few tweaks here and there for different specific illnesses, but I'm going to talk about the mix of six now, and later times when I'm talking about other issues other than cancer and cancer prevention, I'll talk about some of the other frameworks other people have, but a lot of it is very, very similar. So if you are not dealing with cancer, are not super concerned for one reason or the other about preventing cancer and don't have anyone in your life who's dealing with it, this could still be for you because the information is valid for everyone. So he calls, Drs. Cohen and Jeffries call their program, or the factors of their program, the mix of six. And today I'm going to go through the first three. And another thing I wanted to mention is they put the order of these in the order that they think is the most important. And I really like first the way that they word their mix of six, and also the order they put them in, because most people think of diet and exercise as the big things for health and wellness, and indeed they are. I'm not in any way arguing with that. But in their case, that's not even in the first three of the mix of six because they don't think it's the most important. So I'm going to go over just list off the entire six, and then I'll talk about the first three, and in a later video I'll talk about the last three. So the first one in the book is called The Foundation is Love and Social Support. The second of the mix of six is called Stress and Resilience. The third is called The Need for Rest and Recovery. The fourth is called Moving for Wellness. That's the one on exercise. The fifth one is called Food as Medicine. That's the one on diet choices. And the sixth one is called The Environment and the Quest for Health. So today we're going to talk about the foundation is love and social support, stress and resilience, and the need for rest and recovery. And I'm doing a very short video, so basically this is just a little bitty taste of more my thoughts on the book, more than about the book itself, although I will be referencing some things here. I highly, highly, highly suggest this book. It's a wonderful, wonderful book to read. I recommend it to people who have a history of cancer in their family, who are cancer survivors, who may be facing a cancer diagnosis, or who just want to live healthy in general, because as I said, the principles apply pretty much to anybody. So the first point that they have in their mix of six is called The Foundation is Love and Social Support. And they talk a lot about how we now know, just biochemically, that we need support. We need to feel connected. We need to feel like people care about us. When we don't feel that way, our body stays on alert. And when our body stays on alert, it's more likely to see things as a threat, which you would think would be great with cancer. But when it's a long-term chronic issue, it tends to start blurring the lines, and it misses cancer cells and starts looking more at your own tissue as endangered. So that constant stress level makes it harder for you to actually have the, call it the presence of mind for your nervous system to recognize a cancer cell versus a healthy cell. And it also changes the way you think. When you don't feel supported, you don't feel safe, then everything you see is a threat. And they've done studies and imaging in the past that shows that you tend to start having all or nothing thinking. So instead of being able to embrace many different facets of any issue, and cancer care, there are lots and lots of issues to address. I'm a cancer survivor. I can tell you it can be very confusing and very inundating, even if you have a medical background, and especially if you don't, to try to pick between all the different possible things that could help and recognize which things are particularly good for you or bad for you. And a lot of times the information you get from different sources is different, sometimes even from two different oncologists. You may have different information. So being able to have your brain in a place of calm, in a place of presence, so that you're able to look at all of the available information and give it the right weight. So, okay, this is from a reputable source, this one not so much, this one seems like something that fits other things I've heard, etc. Is really important. And when you don't feel connected, you're less able to do that because your brain is literally less able to look at more than two choices and choose between those two. So the foundation is love and social support. And then a point that I put a couple of little markers in the book, if you can see them, so that I find the things I wanted to look at. So this is a section that he talks about a study of women with breast cancer. And it found that those with the most social ties were less likely to die from cancer and less likely to have a recurrence. And that study was the largest of its kind to date, and this was in 2017, so hopefully there have been more studies since then. I haven't looked that up yet, but I'm guessing there probably have been. They tracked breast cancer survival and recurrence in patients in the U.S. and China for up to 20 years. Over that time period, women with fewer social connections were 43% more likely to have a recurrence and 64% more likely to die from breast cancer. So just that one little quick statistic can show you the importance of social connections, especially social connections where you feel like you have someone who's on your side, not just, someone who might always be super opinionated or always think you're wrong or something that's difficult. But having people who are on your side can really biologically change how your cells work, how your breast cancer or other cancers work. This study was done on breast cancer, but the findings based on other things I've read carry over across the board. So that's what I'm going to say about the connection. But social connection is incredibly important. It's also important just for quality of life. I know one thing that was very helpful to me was talking to someone who had a family member who had gone, actually multiple family members, who had gone through cancer similar to my own. They were reproductive cancers. And of course I was terrified because they were telling me I needed to have chemo, and everyone's afraid of chemo. I mean, that's just something that's kind of a cultural thing. Chemo is just, ooh, that's awful. And what she said was so powerful, it really changed my ability to go through my treatment. She said, Teresa, nowadays they've really developed the chemo. They've really gotten it to the point that it's very rare to have the really awful, awful, awful side effects, especially at where you are, where you're just starting it. It's hard. It's really hard. She said, no one wants to go through it, but it's not torture. And giving me that, where I could say, okay, hard I can handle. Let me be able to go through it and be able to do the course of treatment that I needed and to go on with my life. And now I'm cancer free. I just had my checkup on Monday, and they call it no evidence of disease until you've gone 5 years. But I'm continuing with that. I feel better than I have in my entire life because I don't have the pains that I had before, and because of the lifestyle things I'm doing now, I manage stress better. So having someone, a friend, having someone who is able to empathize with me and to encourage me in a way that was meaningful, not just, yeah, you got us, or something, to be able to say, I understand your experience because I've lived with people who had it and this is what I saw, really enriched my ability to do what I needed to do. And so I recommend to anyone who's facing a cancer diagnosis, if you don't already have friends and a team, then seek out support groups, seek out people so that you can do that. And that's what the book would tell you as well. All right, the second point is stress and resilience. And in the book, he talks a lot about how it's not the stressor that's the primary problem. It's not what you go through that's the thing that's the most damaging. It's how you experience it. It's what you take away from it. And thankfully, because we can't always control the stressors in our life, but we can change how we view them. It's a process and it takes time, and sometimes it's challenging, but we can do that. And so one of the things he does talk about that I think is very important is he talks about that just saying, oh, be positive is not the way to handle stress. That basically makes it almost like a shame response for feeling something that isn't positive. So they have too many cancer patients, especially those who face a recurrence, blame themselves for somehow not having the right positive attitude. And that's absolutely not, and it is, I know from my own both experience with other people and my own experience in talking to people, that it is hard to make sure that you communicate that very clearly, because there's so much evidence that having a positive attitude is great, is helpful, is useful, but it also doesn't always include the caveat that having a positive attitude has to be in the face of also facing reality, also feeling your feelings, also understanding that sadness and grief and anger are not only natural but necessary, and things that are good for you to process and go through, and trying to ignore them is not positive thinking. That's denial thinking. And so that's one thing that I'm happy that he really goes over in the book, that it's very important to think of optimism rather than like toxic positivity, as people call it nowadays. So in the next paragraph in the book, he quotes Michael Lerner, who talks about people think they're being supportive, and cautions that telling people with cancer, "You'll beat this if you stay positive," puts the emphasis in the wrong place, which I think is really insightful. It forces the patient to fixate on the cancer rather than on building a joyful and purposefully healthy lifestyle around the cancer. And I really like that, because so often when you're dealing with any major chronic illness, and cancer maybe particularly so, it becomes all about the cancer. And in the way I describe cancer is a narcissistic cell. It is all about promulgating itself, all about making itself big, all about taking nutrients from other places to get that. Sometimes it creates situations in your body, so you make chemicals that leave you stressed so that you can make more cancer cells. And so the one thing that anyone who has had any interactions with very toxic people understand is, they call it the gray rock method to deal with narcissists. You don't feed into their drama, feed into their attention. So it's the same thing even from a figurative standpoint, or kind of a mindset standpoint. You don't want to make your cancer treatment all about the cancer. You want it to be about you, about your body health, and about how your body can function and work around this thing that's in it, and help your body to conquer it. So it's about you. So I really like him talking about that as a way to deal with stress and resilience. And let's see, I thought I had a study listed in here, but I don't think I do. But there is a lot about stress response in general. Making you have a healthy stress response allows your immune system to be stronger, allows your telomere length to be longer, which I thought was in here, maybe it's in the next section on rest, but allows basically all of the things that they now know feed into cancer: inflammation levels, stress response, poor sleep, and telomere health, immune system function. All of those things get better when you are living with stress, but with a hopeful, optimistic, and realistic, while still being realistic, mindset. Now, the third one, the last one we're going to go over today, actually, here it is, the meditation section. And this is not about stress and cancer exactly, it's about pain. But Wake Forest researchers said that if they trained people to meditate, they could reduce the experience of pain, in this case a 120-degree hot pad placed on their right calf for 6 minutes, ouch, by 40%. So something that relieves stress, in this case meditation, can drop your pain, drop your levels of pain. And when you're dealing with cancer, a lot of times there are things that are painful. It's, again, usually hard, not torture, but still very painful. And if that can drop your level of pain, that can increase your ability to go through treatment, to go through just the day-to-day life things you have to go through recovery of surgery much more easily, and in a way that doesn't tax you further and impede your ability to heal. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about, and the third one of the mix of 6, is called the need for rest and recovery. And this is one that I really, really, really try to emphasize with people as well, because I still find among the people that come to my clinic the idea that sleep is weak, that needing sleep is a weakness, that you should be able to get by on 4 or 5 hours of sleep. That's just, that's tough. And it's not, well, it is tough, but it's not tough in the sense of being strong. It's tough in the sense of being very difficult and unnecessarily difficult. We now know that sleep is when our brain's clean. Sleep is what helps our body recharge. Sleep is where we fix things. Sleep is where we heal cells. Sleep is where we make new cells. Not having enough sleep prevents all of those things from happening at their best. And that means that a weak system is more likely to make mutated cells, is less likely to make healthy cells, is more likely to have toxins stuck in the body, waste products that can't get out properly because those functions, the guys that take out the trash during the night when you're asleep inside of your body, are not there. So here is a discussion I really like about circadian rhythm. Our bodies are designed to function optimally and stave off disease when we are in a state of balance, even harmony, with the ebbing and flowing of so many of our internal systems. And it works by daylight a lot. Our bodies naturally raise their cortisol levels early in the morning. We naturally start dropping them down late at night if we are getting as close to a natural level of sunlight as possible. And so he talks often about that, about biological clocks and how exposure to bright light and blue screens late at night make it more difficult to sleep. Let's see. So resting helps with immune function, which most people knew. And if you don't have adequate rest, that increases inflammation, which makes you vulnerable to infection, and some research shows exacerbates tumor growth. So not enough sleep can actually affect tumor growth. So you want to be able to sleep well. And then here's a study that they have. In one particularly revealing 2013 study, researchers at the University of Surrey in Great Britain took whole blood RNA samples to examine gene expression profiles for more than 24 people after they spent a week getting 8.5 hours of sleep a night, which for many people sounds like an impossible dream. And that's one of the things. Sleep hygiene is very important in people coming to my clinic. We work with that a lot. They compared those samples of blood from the same participants, the same people, after limiting their sleep to 5.7 hours a night for 1 week. They found that inadequate sleep affected hundreds of genes related to metabolism, inflammation, and immune response, all key cancer hallmarks. So for today, we went over 3 points in Anticancer Living by Lorenzo Cohen and Allison Jeffries. And it is a book that talks about the things that you can do in your own lifestyle, your own lifestyle factors, to both prevent cancer, and if you have cancer, to make your journey through that better, with a better chance of survivorship, lower levels of mortality, lower levels of pain, and to feel more empowered, more like you have some control over what is often a scary process where you feel like you don't have control, and to be able to change that dynamic so that you feel like it's more you being yourself and growing out of that as the cancer just shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. So it's a very useful book, a very helpful book, and we went through the first 3 points, which included the, make sure I get the wording right because I don't want to say the wrong thing with this. The foundation is love and social support, stress and resilience, and the need for rest and recovery. And in a later video, we'll go over the last 3. Now, there'll be notes at the bottom of the video where you can link to pick up the book, and links to my website if you'd like to contact me. If you found this video helpful, please like it. Please subscribe to my page if you want to hear more of the videos that I make. And if you find it useful and want to share it with someone else, please do that as well. I look forward to talking to you later again in the next video about the last 3 parts of the mix of 6 in Anti-Cancer Living. Be well.